guys, this is Jeron with Savage Gym. Today I want to take a little bit of time and talk to you about how to properly cue tightness in your lats when performing the deadlift. Now, why is this important? As we've talked about in a lot of the other videos that I've put out, the key to being as strong as possible and lifting as much weight as possible in the compound lifts, for the case of powerlifting, the squat, bench, and deadlift, it comes down to being able to create and maintain tightness while moving the bar through space. When it comes to the deadlift, this is one of the things that I see as one of the largest separators between advanced trainees and advanced lifters and people that are newer to powerlifting because they don't know how to create tightness with the back. Now, the lats are an important stabilizer in the spine because of where they're located. They insert around the shoulders and they connect all the way down into the lower back. Because of this, if we know how to use them correctly, they become one of the primary ways of stabilizing the spine and creating tension through the torso. This sounds all well and good, but a lot of times people have a difficult time cueing that tension in through their back and actually creating that stability to allow them to lift more weight. You see this manifest itself with the back rounding or with somebody who tends to grip and rip the bar off of the floor. They lose position because they did not adequately create tension in through the back. So what I'm going to share with you today are unique ways to cue tightness in your lats when performing the deadlift. Before we begin with these cues, I want you to know that not all of them are going to make sense to you. There's going to be some cues that click for some people and others that seem to make better sense to other people, which is why I'm going to go ahead and give you different ways of trying to think about creating this same end goal, which is creating tightness in through the lats. So feel free to take whichever one of these works best for you and implement it into your deadlift. The first cue we're going to use is imagining that you're trying to pull the slack out of the bar. Now, this is not revolutionary. This is a pretty common cue that you may have heard before. But it's a good place to start because it's going to be a good example of how all of these cues have the same goal of creating tightness in through the upper back. To pull the slack out of the bar, you want to reach down and set up as if you're about to pull, but before you actually initiate the lift with your legs, we want to pull that little bit of slack or that little bit of play out of the bar. If you're on a deadlift bar, you want to pull that bend out of the bar before you initiate the pull. What this does is it helps to create tension in through the entire back, so that way when you initiate by pushing through the floor, you're able to press explosively without seeping energy. The second cue that we're going to use to create tightness in the lats is a concept called wedging into the bar. Now, our goal with wedging is to create a situation where our setup with the deadlift and the amount of tension that we're able to create in through the entire body before performing the lift actually causes the bar to pop off of the ground before we initiate the pull. Now, obviously this is not going to necessarily happen with maximal effort work, but it's something that we can cue with lighter weights, and typically so long as the bar is lighter than you, you should fall backwards. However, if you do get proficient at this, you will find that you're able to pop heavier and heavier weights off of the ground just by using the wedging technique. To perform the wedge, you're going to want to reach down to the bar like you typically would, and we want to get in a position where we are maintaining all 3 points of contact with the foot via the heel, the little toe, the big toe. This is called rooting, and I've discussed it in other videos. But then we want to pull back on the bar to engage the lats, almost like we're trying to bend it across the shins. And you should find that as you bend the bar, or as you're pulling it into yourself, that the bar actually starts to pop off of the ground. This is exactly what we're going for here. Getting a situation where you are pulling yourself under the bar, so to speak, and then that setup is causing the bar to leave the ground. Once you've already done that, then you can start the explosive initiation of the lift. This is especially applicable in a deadlift bar where the bar will bend before you actually break it off of the floor. This will allow you to efficiently transfer the power from your hips down into the floor to press the bar away from the ground. If this doesn't quite make sense, then the second cue that we're going to use is actually involving a PVC pipe. Now, I've used this as kind of a regression from the wedging concept, although remember, the same with all of these cues, the goal is the same. To perform the PVC pipe cue, what you're going to do is take a simple 1-inch piece of PVC pipe. I have one here that's about the length of a barbell, and you want to get down into your deadlift starting position. Now, once you're in that starting position with the bar close to the shins, I want you to imagine that you're trying to bend the bar over your shins, And you should feel, as you're literally pulling the bar into your legs, the tightness get created in and around your armpit. This is exactly what we're going for. So if the wedging concept does not quite make sense to you, or if you're struggling to feel that movement, then this is a great place to start, because you can literally bend the bar across your shins and get that feedback and actually feel your lats tighten. With several years ago, and it's still been effective to this day, so I still keep it as an option. But the best way to think about this is if you imagine the average douchebag at the gym on a Monday with invisible lat syndrome, walking around, bench pressing probably 225, letting everybody know how big he is. This can actually be an effective cue for deadlifting, particularly if you tend to deadlift with a slightly rounded upper back. How the douche lats cue works for the deadlift is we want to imagine almost that you are puffing up your upper back and you want to flex your lats as hard as you can. So we're going to get almost into the air lat position, tense everything up, and then you'll reach down and set up to the bar like you normally would. What this does is it gets the shoulders into a dropped, slightly forward position, which can shorten the range of motion, but it does it with a tight upper back and activated lats rather than a loose, rounded upper back. Another cue that's very similar to the douche lats cue is imagining that you're trying to put your shoulders down into your front pockets. Now, benefits of cueing lat tightness in these two ways is that it does help shorten the length of your pull by taking the shoulders and instead of retracting them, dropping them forward in a tight position. Depending on your setup and your style of deadlift, this can actually take about an inch or two off of your pull, making it easier and allowing you to lift more weight. The next cue that we can also use to create tightness in the lats is to think about turning the elbows into your body just before you initiate your pull. You'll do this once you've already grabbed onto the bar, you've pulled some of the slack out, and you drop your hips into position. Imagine that you're trying to just rotate your elbow from being in this position like a gorilla down into the sides. And you should notice that that also helps to create tightness in through the upper back and through the lat. Now the last cue that we're going to use is another tactile cue similar to the PVC pipe cue, and it utilizes the strategy of RNT, or reactive neuromuscular training. With this, what we're going to do is actually place a band either around your wrist or around the bar itself, loaded to the front. What this is going to do is pull the bar away from you. Therefore, when you deadlift, you're going to have to actively pull the bar into your shins, which is going to create that tension in through the upper back, because if you don't pull the bar into yourself, then it's going to fly forwards and you won't be able to lift it. This can be a really effective strategy for somebody who doesn't quite get any of these other internal cues to really feel that tightness in through the upper back, because you really don't have a choice. So those are some of my favorite cues to help teach tightness in through the lats when performing the deadlift. Hopefully one of these clicked for you and you can implement it into your training to start seeing the benefit of total body tension when performing the movement. If you do so, you should be lifting more weight in no time. I hope this video has been informative for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop a comment in the box below. If you haven't done so already, connect with me on Facebook, Instagram. I'm on Snapchat now, but I still don't know how to do anything on there except for post pictures of my dog. And as always, be sure to check out our website at www.savagegym.com.